validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We appreciate you coming to the podcast tonight. Kind of wanted to get you guys started talking about that California fire. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Make sure that you guys join the membership. If in the event that you guys like to put some comments in about today's topic, you can click that link in the comment section that's showing up right now, and then approve the mic, approve the camera. And when you do so, it'll bring you onto the show in real time. And as long as you're over the age of 18, you can come up in here and say what you got to say about today's topic with California burning to the ground, or special shout outs, whatever you want to do. Keep your comments appropriate for the most part. Otherwise, I got to do something ridiculous about it. Remember, we are live 7 nights a week, 10 o'clock, usually. We're about 20 minutes late. We operate on CP time over here. So, but we are here every night of the week, 7 nights a week. So make sure that you check us out. Make sure that, like I said before, you like and subscribe. And also, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about all of the wild things that Donald Trump is doing. I want to make sure that you guys stay tuned for that as well. So join me as I take on this particular topic that's been dwelling. Everybody's been talking to me about it. About the situation that's affecting California with the wildfires, and see what's going to happen with the changes in the landscape. So since California is no stranger to natural disasters, one of the most devastating and reoccurring threats to the state's environment, communities, and economy is those wildfires. So these unrelenting flames have been wreaking havoc on the Golden State for years, and it's essential we take a closer look at the far-reaching consequences of these disasters. So wildfires in California poses a multitude of challenges, from obvious destruction and natural habitat and the wildlife to the overlooked impact on local communities and the state's economy. The rising frequency and intensity of these fires can be attributed to a perfect storm of factors, including climate change, forest management issues, and the increasing risk to homes and infrastructure. So, the climate change has led to a drier condition, stronger winds, and hotter temperatures, creating environments where fires can spread rapidly and unpredictably. Forest management issues, such as inadequate clearance of dry underbrush and dead trees, further exacerbates the problem. And as more people move into the area, these areas are prone to wildfires. The risks to the homes and infrastructures is also going to increase as well. The vulnerability of communities is a twofold. Not only do they face the direct threat of fire, but they also suffer from the indirect consequences of lost livelihoods, disrupted supply chains, and decreased air and water quality. So the economic toll is staggering, with billions of dollars lost in property damage, agriculture, productivity, and tourism revenue. Moreover, the lingering effects of wildfires can be just as crippling as local businesses struggle to receive the ability to recover and rebuild. So, one of the most significant obstacles in combating wildfires is the sheer scale of the affected areas. With millions of acres of land at risk, it is daunting for the firefighters to take on this task to contain the extinguishable massive blazes. Now, I know y'all are wondering what's happening right now today. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to dig deep into that. But I wanted you guys to understand that even when the imminent danger has passed, the long-term consequences of wildfires lingers, making it essential to address the root cause and develop effective strategies for preventing and mitigating these issues. So California's the wildfires, are also fueled by a combination of natural and human factors, because we understand that the drought conditions and high temperatures and strong winds create the environment conducive to a fire. But unfortunately, human activities such as arson, accidental ignition from cigarettes or campfires, and power line malfunctions further exacerbate the problem. So, for those individuals who like to smoke, and then when they finish smoking, instead of them putting the embers out in a safe place or ashing it in a safe place while they're out there camping, they just flick their ashes on the ground. And when they're done with the cigarette, they flick the blunt or the butt of the cigarette onto the ground, which still has a lit ember. This carelessness, which is commonly done in the inner city, in the concrete jungle, where it'll hit the ground and just go somewhere, probably into the sewers, if not just litter the neighborhood. The fact is that in the forest, when you do this, that is the common factor for the ignition of a brush fire, or poorly kept campfires that aren't properly structured, such as an above ground fire that the embers can pop out of the fire. I know that those of us who took Boy Scouts know that you're supposed to dig a little bit of a hole, put the stuff in the hole, and then surround the top of the hole with like cobblestone or something like that to try to keep some of the fire. But that doesn't mean that the embers are not going to pop out of the fire. It just means that you reduce the risk of that. And then also going to sleep while the fire is still burning is something that people do, but not being able to monitor the fire and the winds that occur while the fire is still burning while you're sleeping could lead to you waking up and being surrounded by fire. A lot of people also don't put out those campfires effectively before they leave the campsite. So as long as it's still smoking, something is still potentially burning. So you walk away from it. Just because you threw water on it doesn't mean the fire is out. It just means that the fire's been diminished. So if an ember can catch wind and go somewhere else, you can end up with yet another brush fire. So these types of careless behaviors while out in the wilderness could lead to man-made fires. The 2018 campfire, for example, was sparked by a faulty power line, resulting in the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in California's history. But a recent fire before this one in 2025, the recent fire incident, such as the 2020 Creek Fire, had provided stark visuals of destruction, and these flames had caused a massive devastation. The Creek Fire scorched over 380,000 acres and forced thousands to evacuate and generated massive uh, uh, cumulus clouds. These are the very big dark clouds that fester overhead after a fire has passed over, because I can't say it gone out because it's still burning right now today. That affects the air quality across the state. And these shocking images serve as a grim reminder of the urgent need for action. So one heroic response that stands out in recent times was the bravery of a firefighter during a 2019 Kincaid fire, as flames engulfed entire neighborhoods, and the firefighters risked their lives to save countless homes and families. And their selfless efforts are a testament to the bravery and dedication of these everyday heroes. So you understand that when natural disaster happens, everybody starts coming together. We're going to talk about that in a second too. The 2020 North Complex fire was another devastating event, with flames spreading so rapidly the firefighters were forced to conduct door-to-door evacuations in the middle of the night. And the heroic actions of these first responders undoubtedly saved countless lives, but the sheer scale of the disaster highlights the need for improved pre-readiness and response strategies. So since approximately 95% of wildfires are ignited by human actions, investigators are currently examining various potential ignition sources for the recent fire, including arson, utility lines, and equipment mishaps. Notably, there were no reports of lightning in the area affected by the fire, which typically is a common cause of wildfires. So since there was no rain and lightning and thunder that started the fire this time around, they're leaning towards it potentially being somebody did something that they wasn't supposed to do. So while investigators are exploring multiple potential causes for specific fires, such as those in Pacific the Peninsula and Eden, no definitive cause has been established yet. So the investigation process involves meticulous examinations of the fire's origin after they put some of that stuff out, and the surrounding evidence to determine how it started. So the Santa Ana winds, which can reach speeds exceeding 60 miles an hour, have played a significant role in the rapid spread of the fires. And these strong winds have been reported to wipe flames and embers across vast areas, exacerbating the situation. So California has been experiencing severe drought conditions, which rendered the vegetation extremely dry and highly susceptible to ignition. And this lack of moisture has created an abundance of fuel for the wildfires. Well, this fire has been reported to be actively spreading eastward. I'm going to pin a pin in this real quick, because I had a fella of mine that I was talking to from Taiwan who argued that the fire was going to continue going westward to the coast. And I kept telling him that it is winter time and the winds are going to blow the cold easterly winds from California to Florida, which is an annual thing between mid-January and late February, which is when Florida starts experiencing its cold fronts, because Florida doesn't have winter in December. Florida has winter in freaking February and March. But he argued that the fires were going to go to the coast. And I kept saying no, because there is always going to be an eastward wind that is going to carry the cold off of the ocean through the southern part of America to Florida. Sure as I said that, 3.5 days ago, the fire is now heading eastward. So I just wanted to point out, I told you so. So, Hank, if you're watching, I told you so. Now, with the firefighters' efforts focused on containing its movement due to the high winds that caused the explosive fire growth, we have similar efforts uh, for them to try to suppress the fire, where the fire is also experiencing the eastward movement, threatening numerous structures in its path, heading in the direction of Nevada, as I said before. So, forecasters have issued warnings for particular dangerous situations, red flag winds, with gusts expected to reach up to 60 miles an hour in some areas, and these conditions are anticipated to continue at least through noon tomorrow. Today is the 13th, tomorrow is the 14th, and by 12 o'clock California time, which is, I would say that's 3 hours after me, and well, 2 hours after me and 3 hours after Florida. So it'll be 2 o'clock my time, 12 o'clock your time, 3 o'clock Florida time. That's about the time that this will start looking a little less drastic for the individuals that are at the wake of this fire. So the increasing risk of it further spreading is imminent. So far, we've gotten a record that at least 24 people have died as a result of the wildfire, and over 180,000 residents have been evacuated from affected areas in Los Angeles County as a precaution against the advancing flames. There are curfews in effect in the fire zones from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. California time to ensure safety during these critical hours. More than 13,401 structures have been destroyed over or damaged due to the fire itself. Approximately 36,685 acres have been scorched across the region so far, which is less than the one that happened in 2020 or in 2019, but still pretty bad because we're looking at an estimated suggestion that insured losses from the fire could exceed $20 billion, setting a record for wildfires related insurance claims in United States history. But you also have to take into consideration the inflation. So, projections indicate total economic losses ranging between $250 billion and $275 billion, surpassing previous records anticipated with major wildfires. The air quality index has been consistently reported at unhealthy. They ain't even trying to say that it's like, no, they're like, you're not going to survive with this situation. So if you did not buy a gas mask when SWAT was kicking your door in, you should probably buy one now because you're going to need it. Probably going to need to accompany yourself with an oxygen tank as addition to your gas mask. But, I'm just throwing out help here. They're saying that the oxygen is unhealthy across many parts of Southern California, particularly in Los Angeles County, and some areas have reached hazardous levels where it almost looks like a war zone has happened over there. Levels of highly concentrated particles from the fire, it has coated everything in just about soot. Visibility is horrible, and you are going to be dealing with a lot of issues if you already got asthma. So, for instance, there's an air monitor in Chinatown that recorded at 2:50 p.m. the level of 483.7 micrograms per cubic meter. This significantly exceeds the federal limit of 35 micrograms per cubic meter for daily average concentrations of hazardous, or not even hazardous, but like debris in the breathable air. So if you're supposed to be breathing in 35 microbes of debris and you're breathing in 483 microbes of debris, that's almost 150 times more than what you're supposed to be consuming. Well, so you're probably not good. It's not a good idea to be outside. to say the least, if you're in California. And you shouldn't be outside without a gas mask on. And your air conditioner is not going to cover you. So don't think that you're going to be able to rely on that. Uh, Exposure to the wildfire smoke can lead to serious health problems, including respiratory issues like bronchitis and other complications for vulnerable populations such as children, the elderly, and those with pre-existing health conditions. For those of you who have pets, it is a good idea to keep your pets inside, because I have had a dog out there in a fire before, and I tell you what, the little thing will fight the fire until the fire goes out or the dog's lungs explodes from carbon emissions. So don't let your animals out there to try to rescue you from the fire. Keep your animals indoors, because there is literally nothing worse than losing your pet because your pet tried to protect you from a wildfire. So as important as your children and your elderly people are, bring your dogs inside, because I mean, the cats, they're not going to be able to be found. But the dogs will stand there and bark at the fire as if the fire is going to run away. It's not. It's just going to ruin the dog's lungs. So the smoke conditions are harmful pollution, such as the particle matter and volatile organic compounds and heavy metals, which pose additional health risks even after the fires are contained. We have to take into consideration that there are certain structures that caught a blaze out there, and those structures have chemicals on the property that have caught a blaze, and the debris from those chemicals are now everywhere. So a lot like the remnants of an explosion. When you start dealing with setting massive quantities of property on fire, and some of those property having septic tanks, they have gas tanks, they have farms out there, and the farms have pesticides and other such stuff out there that they keep in mass quantity, and now the entire property is burned down. All of those safely stored chemicals have now caught such a blaze that it's in the air, and it is probably going to spread a whole lot faster than the pandemic spread in 2019. So local health authorities have issued advisories urging residents to minimize outdoor activities and take precautions against smoke inhalation. So cracking open a window, not an idea. Central air and heat might help, but you're probably going to have to make sure that you've got you an air purifier. If you didn't get one, you're probably going to go get one now. I told you guys about getting stuff like that way back in the day for other reasons, but now it's going to become useful. But a local health emergency has been declared in Los Angeles County due to the poor air quality. So residents are advised to use the N95 mask to block particulate matter and keep windows and doors closed, and utilize air filters in their homes to reduce indoor pollution levels. I might go as far as to say, grab you some duct tape and duct tape the window seals closed. Take you some towels and tuck them up underneath the door frames. Like, really go out on a limb with this one as far as keeping this stuff from coming into your house. As some people are going to say that's excessive, but the any crack between the doorways, any cracks in the window seals, any cracks in the window panes that could allow the pollution to get into the house and then get sucked into the central air and heat system and then get pushed out of the vents is almost as bad as sticking your mouth on an exhaust pipe of a car and just waiting for bad things to happen. So better safe than sorry, and to really quarantine the house for the sake of keeping the clean air in the house. And if you have an air purifier that's able to help with circulation of the air in the house, then you'll be able to have cleaner air in the house. Now, I said something about oxygen tanks a moment ago, and the reason why I say that is because there's only so much oxygen going around, and if you're running out of oxygen, you're going to not have a replenishable quantity of oxygen in an expedited fashion, since the entire environment is not breathable. But an oxygen tank isn't going to last you but a few hours, but it could aid, especially with those people with respiratory problems. It could aid with prolonged exposure to this particular environment, because I've given it 3 more weeks. A buddy of mine was like, why 3 weeks? And I'm like, bro, it took me 3 days to cross the country at 45 miles an hour. If this fire is heading in one direction at 60 miles an hour, it should not take 21 days for this bad boy to burn out unless it starts going south, further south, like into Mexico kind of situation. And then unlike with floods, when a flood happens and the water comes in, you have the devastation of when the water shows up, but then you also have the devastation of when the tide goes back out. And then you also have the possibility that the son of a gun can come back in with a fire. Once it has crossed over and burnt everything that could be burned, it's not coming back. So it just has to pass. And then once it passes, that's pretty much it for that area. The fire doesn't necessarily go out, but the fire does not come back. So analysts estimate that the insured losses from the wildfire could exceed $30 billion, with projections indicating this could be the costliest wildfire in U.S. history. California has put a ban on, I think a couple of days ago, on the insurance companies from dropping clients and refusing to renew. That doesn't necessarily mean that some people are not going to be denied for their claims, but there's supposed to be some type of mandatory requirement for compensations for those people who have property insurance coverage. Now, keep in mind, when just like in Florida, when all those Teslas caught on fire and burned all those houses down, insurance companies are going to jack up the prices as a result of having to pay out for all of the property damage. So the high property values in the affected areas, such as the Pacific Palisades, where the median home value is around $3.1 million, which is where all the rich people live. Because I can tell you, in the common areas, most of the houses are between $250,000 and $500,000. So $3.1 million, you're talking about mansions. And this contributed to the staggering figures. So the crisis is exacerbating the already strained insurance market in California, where major insurers have been pulling back from offering policies due to rising risks associated with wildfires. Now, one of my buddies was telling me, well, why did the insurance companies not think about this in the first place? Well, they haven't had a wildfire in over 100 years, the same way Tampa hasn't had a flood in almost 100 years, the same way New York hadn't had a blizzard that had a blackout that flooded the place out and destroyed the economy in over 100 years. And because natural disaster hasn't happened in so long, insurance companies make profits off of the fear of disaster, where they're paying the insurance company for protection for so long that they forget why they're paying for these policies. The whole time you don't have a problem, the insurance company is profiting. Insurance company profits off of you being in good health, having no crashes, having no natural disasters, and having no property damage from vandalism or home break-ins. When you start having problems, they have to start paying you money. And when they pay you money, that costs them money. And that's when they start losing profits. And then they start pulling out of the market and turning away from their clients, because they didn't really get those clients to protect the client's assets. They fed the clients the idea that if you pay them, they will protect your assets. And that interpretation, a lot like milk is good for you false statement, is the reason why people keep paying for it. So this trend has left many homeowners struggling to find affordable coverage, and further complicating the housing landscape, because a lot of properties are requiring, in order for you to buy and or sell a house, the title company requires you to have property insurance on the mortgage. And if you can't get insurance, how are you going to buy the house? How are you going to close on a house? So proximity to recent wildfires has historically led to declines in the property value, because they can't sell the house, because they can't get insurance coverage on the house, which devalues the house. And multiple devalued houses in a certain neighborhood devalues the whole neighborhood. So a study by the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco indicates that homes closures in the past fires have seen more significant declines in value over recent years. And as climate change continues to drive more frequent and severe wildfires, the perception of risks associated with properties in fire-prone areas is likely to lead to sustained decreases in property values over time. Now, that's going to increase gentrification. You're probably going to have more low-income people being able to afford to buy these areas or rent these areas. And you're going to have the more affluent individuals being able to go somewhere else, or the more financially sound individuals will be able to go somewhere else and live away from the fire-prone areas. Now, with thousands of residents displaced due to the fire damage, there is a significant increase in demand for rental properties. Now, this is something that my buddy had asked me was, wouldn't the cost of rent go up in California because of what's going on? Well, I was telling him that the cost of rent in places outside of the fire area would go up because there's nowhere for them to rent in California area while the place is on fire. But reports indicate that rent could rise by as much as 12%, driven by compensation among those seeking temporary housing solutions. He was thinking that the rent would go up in California due to the renovations after the fire, where the property owners would offset the costs and expenses to the tenants. And that's likely the case. But if you already are under a lease, they're going to have to put you under a new lease in order for them to raise the rent, because your current lease does not allow for a rental increase unless they have it written in without him giving you a 90 to 120 day notice or something to that effect. And usually, with the way people lease things, they should be right around the end of their lease. So it's likely the landlord's just not going to renew. And then if you had renter's insurance, your stuff has to be compensated for because the house burned down with your stuff in it. So many displaced individuals are engaging in bidding wars for available rentals, offering upfront payments and higher rents to secure housing, which exacerbates the affordability crisis. The high demand is going to cause for massive inflation. This is going to tip the scales in the rental market. It's going to really negatively impact low-income families because you can't afford to pay for the rent that you got right now, which is why you protested Amazon. And now you're trying to pay 2 to 3 times more so that you can live somewhere else and sleep on the floor because your house with your bed in it burned to the ground. I don't know, guys. The destruction of homes has led to a growing shortage of available housing in affected areas, and this scarcity is compounded by increased competition for limited rental options, leading to further upward pressure on prices. The demand for contractors and construction materials is expected to surge, potentially delaying the rebuilding process for homes lost in fires and creating additional strain on the housing market. Approximately 60 flights have also been canceled or delayed due to challenging weather conditions exacerbated by the wildfires and strong winds. So, as of recent reports, about 19% of flights from Burbank Airport have forced cancellations. Travelers has experienced diversions. For instance, some flights originally scheduled to land at Burbank were redirected to LAX due to turbulence caused by the high winds. Well, Los Angeles International Airport has remained operational within the fire with limited disruptions. While there have been some delays, around 18% reported on certain days, the majority of flights continue to operate normally. The airport is located approximately 19 miles south of the Pacific Palisades fire and has not reported significant interference from the fire yet. LAX remains operational with minimal disruptions. While there have been some delays, the airport is experiencing significant operational impacts from the fire. International flights continue to operate, but travelers should stay informed about any changes or potential delays. And several airlines, including Delta, JetBlue, Southwest, and United Airlines, have issued travel waivers for passengers affected by the wildfire. And these waivers allow travelers to change their flight plans without incurring additional fees if their travel dates fall within specific ranges impacted by the fire. The Santa Ana winds, with gusts reaching up to 60 miles an hour, have intensified the fires and contributed to flight disruptions. And these winds can cause turbulence and complicated landing conditions, leading to airlines to reroute or delay flights. And since those travelers are advised to stay updated on the flight status and local advisories, especially if they plan to visit areas near the active fires, it is also recommended to check airlines for any changes or rebooking options due to ongoing conditions. Now, many foreign nationals express anxiety over the immediate dangers posed by the wildfire, including evacuation orders and health risks associated with poor air quality. The fires have led to significant evacuations, with that approximate 180,000 residents displaced, raising fears about their personal safety above and beyond. And they also have general concerns for their property loss. So the foreign nationals, their residents, are also concerned about the long-term environmental effects of wildfires, the ongoing destruction of natural landscape and urban areas highlight the increasing frequency and intensity of wildfires attributed to climate change, which many of us believe is exacerbated by inadequate management practices. So some foreign nationals feel frustrated with the government's response to wildfire management despite California's stringent building codes and extensive firefighting resources, where many believe that these measures are insufficient to cope with the escalating threat of wildfires. This sentiment is echoed in discussions about whether any region can truly adapt to the challenges posed by climate change. I'm going to tell you right now, y'all can get mad all y'all want. When y'all come to America, y'all are looking at us about how can we control blizzards, earthquakes, wildfires, and hurricanes. And y'all can't even control tsunamis. So there's just things that humans cannot control. There are certain types of disasters that we cannot mitigate. There is no way that during drought season that any one state can properly water 100 million acres of land to keep it from catching on fire and not have to deal with sinkholes. Because where are you going to get the millions of gallons of water from to keep the ground saturated so that it doesn't catch on fire? They're not even using a lot of water to put out a lot of this fire. They're using a lot of sand to dispose of the fire. They run out of resources to put the fires out. What else do you expect for them to do? Even though there's millions of people in California, how many of them are going to go out and rake up all of the extra debris so that it doesn't catch a blaze? And then if you rake up all of the extra debris, that shrubbery is what leads to the amenities that is called beauty of the wildlife. So the little straw that is highly flammable, that trinkles the ground and gives the brownish green look in the fall and the spring, the pine cones that are highly flammable, that also gives the winter wonderland look. When you have snow, they don't have snow, they have fire. We just got to take it as we get it. So I know a lot of people that right now are still in Taiwan and Taipei that don't want to come to America, specifically because California is on fire. And I asked them, each and every one of them, why not go somewhere else? America is freaking big, bro. Go to the East Coast. It's cheaper. Washington, D.C., Vermont, Virginia, Tennessee. Like, go hang out somewhere else for 6 months. Like, you can fly back and forth to work. Digital nomads, work off your computer. Do you really have to go all the way back to the middle of the burning Los Angeles grounds in order for you to feel at home in America? Because there's so much America out there. But they're like, nope, it's got to be Seattle or it's got to be California, where we're dealing with Los Angeles. And I'm like, bruh, That's like me saying I'm only going to Asia if it's the Philippines or if it's Thailand or if it's what's the other one? Vietnam. That's the only way I'm going. And if that place is underwater, then I'm not going. That's ridiculous. You got to find another place to go, because those of us who were born and raised in America is watching California on fire. You know, the first thing I said when somebody told me California was on fire, I said, that's odd because I don't smell smoke. They're like, bro, too soon. But I'm sitting over here thinking, look, I know how to get a little bit further away. Get a little bit further away. If the West Coast is on fire, go to the East Coast. That way you're safe. When Louisiana was flooded, what did everybody do? They went north. Some people were ridiculous and they went east. And I don't know why you would stay in the South and go from Louisiana to Mississippi, knowing that Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama always get hit together. It's like a trifecta. But some people do that. And Louisiana and Texas are right next to one another. So whatever happens to Louisiana happens to Texas. Why do you go to Texas when you're running from a Louisiana storm? I don't know. But never have you ever heard somebody say, oh, blizzard up north, let's run up north and hide from the blizzard. No, you just get away from the bad area. So there's a growing census among some foreign residents that California must focus more on adaptation strategies rather than solely on fire suppression. Besides having a fake environment, there isn't another idea. And this is going to include better land management practices and infrastructure improvements to mitigate the fire risks in vulnerable areas. So they're recommending that, I guess, we put a freaking sprinkler system out in the wilderness to keep the ground wet. Amidst the chaos, many foreign nationals appreciate the sense of community that emerges during a crisis. So residents often come together to support one another through volunteering, sharing resources, and providing shelter to those affected by the fires. So even if you cheated on your spouse with your neighbor will let you come and stay at your house because you ain't got no place to live because your house burned down. Enemies become friends. You're going to love how well this works, because despite the challenges posed by wildlife, many foreign nationals expressed a commitment to staying in California, and they recognize the state's vibrant culture, opportunities, and lifestyle as worth enduring these environmental challenges. So these people have officially become Americans, because the one thing that we say in the midst of natural disaster is we're gonna rebuild. So that's what they're doing. Welcome to America. But I love this part. In response to the devastating wildfires currently impacting California, particularly in the Los Angeles area, Mexico, the people that Mr. Trump did not like the most, has stepped in to provide crucial assistance. So all of those, they're not welcome here, when we had a lot of American people that were treating immigrants like garbage. Guess who's coming to save the day? You got 200,000 people a month coming across that border, and most of them know how to put out a fire without needing a fire truck. And now you could put them to good use, because Mexico has stepped in to provide crucial assistance. So here are the key details that are resulting in that, because on January 11, 2025, California Governor Gavin Newsom welcomed 72 highly skilled firefighters and emergency personnel from Mexico specifically. And these firefighters are part of the National Forestry Commission and the Ministry of Defense in Mexico, and have arrived to bolster local firefighting efforts amidst the ongoing crisis. The Mexican firefighters will work alongside California's existing firefighting resources, which include approximately 14,000 personnel from various agencies. They will form hand crews to assist with direct firefighting operations. In addition to assistance from Mexico, California has also received help from other states, including Oregon, which dispatched 300 firefighters and 72 engineers to support firefighting efforts. Governor Newsom expressed gratitude for Mexico's support, stating emergencies have no borders until the emergency is over, and then everybody's going to get deported. Because just like Trump said he was going to have Mexico build a wall, then deport everybody and lock them on the outside of that wall, you're going to let them in, and you're going to let them help you with your problem. And then after you're done with them, you're going to send them back as if they're not welcome instead of giving them a pass, at least the ones that helped. But capitalism is all about capitalizing. So we're deeply grateful to our neighbors in Mexico for their unwavering support during one of our greatest times of need, is what Governor Newsom expresses. So the impact of wildfires in California is undeniable, and it's essential to acknowledge the ongoing challenges the state faces in managing uh, all of these fires that are going out of control. And from the economic toll to human cost, the disasters are a wake-up call for all of us to take action and demand change, and ladies and gentlemen, put in effort for change, because you can't say that change is needed if nobody's going to do anything different to make change. First of all, smokers, I'm not going to tell you don't smoke, but I am going to tell you, put it out responsibly. They make metal cigarettes now, metal cigarette boxes now. You can smoke your smoke and put it back out in your metal cigarette thingy and then throw it away later. At least make sure that the dang thing is out. Separate the ember from the cigarette butt before you litter. But like, there are so many things that can be done a little bit better. Just be more conscientious about where you put your debris when you smoke. That's what they make ashtrays for. That's why they put ashtrays in cars. That's why they put the cigarette lighter in the car, so that you can smoke inside the car instead of smoking outside the car and flicking your ashes all over the place and setting your whole neighborhood on fire like Final Destination. I don't get it. But the collaboration between California and Mexico highlights a spirit of solidarity in addressing natural disasters, even though we don't have the spirit of solidarity in immigration. As wildfires continue to pose significant challenges, the additional manpower from Mexican firefighters is expected to enhance containment efforts and provide vital support to local teams battling these devastating blazes. So as I keep an eye on this, I want you guys to be able to note that, hey, it is what it is. We're going to make it because it can't burn forever. Gotta say Happy New Year's to those people who are celebrating the Chinese New Year, because it's New Year's for them. It's not New Year's for us. We should have Happy Flame Day for those of you in California that are still dealing with this crisis. Enjoy your day off, because it's not going to happen again. After this, you're going to be rebuilding for another 10 years. I want to thank you guys for joining me in this particular journey into the heart of California's wildfire crisis. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on the critical issues. I want you to be able to share in the comments below, and don't forget to check out any other environmental issues that matter. We're going to be covering those on This and That and Everything in Between, because, we've got a lot of stuff that's happening in our country, and this kind of stuff actually impacts the infrastructure in a way where our investments will be negatively impacted. You have to be able to look at those REITs that I was telling you about, because REITs are involved in real estate, and you have to see if that company is doing business in California, because if it is, stock market's about to go down for that particular company. Things like natural disasters negatively impacts the economy, which negatively impacts the company's ability to make profits, which negatively impacts the shareholders, which negatively impacts the shares, which negatively impacts your investment. We have to be able to make sure that we pay attention to what is happening around us, so that we can make sure that we put our money in the right spot, so that we can make our money make money for us. If we put our money in the right spot, we'll be able to benefit from any changes in our economy, and we have to accept the losses where they come. It is very devastating, and my condolences to those who have lost and those who have lost loved ones. However, we also understand that first person accountability. You chose to live in a fire prone area. Now you have to rebuild as a consequence. Those of us who live in flood zones, even though it never floods there, when it does flood, we have to accept those consequences. When you decide to buy a house or rent a house, and if you take the time to check the area, if there is a flood warning or a fire warning, even if it never happens, in the first 5 or 10 years of you staying there. The one time it does happen, you knew. You might have forgotten, but you knew when you picked this place. You just roll the dice on it. And you can only roll the dice on 31 black for so long until all of a sudden you don't hit 31 black. So we have to accept life as it comes. We have to make changes and adaptations to life as often as possible based on what we know. And truthfully, you got to be able to prepare for the worst. If you understand that you're in a very disastrous area, you might not be able to truly, especially if you're in a fire prone area, you might not be able to truly battle down the fire, but you can do certain things like sandbags. You can do certain things like over groom the property and make sure that you saturate a large percentage of the property so that you don't have to worry about the property catching a blaze, or at least the borderlines of the property so that you don't have to worry about the fire reaching into the other areas of the property. When you're dealing with the drought, your water bill is going to be high as bejesus because you're going to put forth the extra effort to saturate your land so that your land doesn't catch a blaze. These are the only things that you can do to keep your own personal home safe from natural disasters. Now, recognizing how prone to fires that California is, a lot of people are going to be changing the infrastructure of their houses to make sure that their houses are more fireproof. You're probably going to have more concrete houses than the wooden houses that look very snazzy, and they're very modern and more affordable, but they burn to a crisp very quickly. You're going to see a lot more box designs because there's only so many ways that you can build a concrete house. But if you build a house that's not flammable, it's not going to burn to the ground. You just got to deal with the shingles on the roof. If you put a tin roof up there, you don't have to worry about the roof catching on fire either. You just got to really go old school. Me and a buddy of mine had a debate when he was telling me that concrete is more durable than brick. And I told him it wasn't. I told him that concrete is not going to last as long as brick. He didn't believe me. He said concrete is stronger. Come to find out, yes, while concrete can handle 500 pounds of pressure more than brick, brick does not erode like concrete, which means that a concrete house made in 1895 is going to be more durable than a brick house, or a brick house made in 1985 is going to be more durable than a concrete house made in 2010. That's the difference. So in 2024, the concrete house is not going to be as strong as the house that was built 150 years earlier because brick is more durable than concrete. I got to rub that in a little bit. So when we start thinking about when we buying properties, these are the things that we have to take into effect. If I'm looking at a house, it's got to be a brick house. I don't want a concrete house. I don't want a wood house. But if I got to choose between a concrete house and a wood house, I'll choose a concrete house because it's not going to burn to the ground. I don't have to deal with dry rot and a flood zone. There's other factors in home ownership. You rent what you can afford, but when you're buying, you got to buy something that's practical and durable. The real estate market is going right now at the very beginning of the reign of Trump, where real estate and Bitcoin is going to get the biggest push over the next 4 years. China is going to have a field day with all of the exporting materials that's going to happen because of all of the rebuilding that needs to happen. We said what, 380,000 acres? A lot of houses that's going to need to be rebuilt from the ground up. Steel beams, concrete walls, slabs, sheetrock floors, all the stuff is going to have to be redone. And the interior design, like me and a buddy of mine, we're going to be talking about the interior design. The interior design is going to be outrageous. But those $3 million homes, bro, Beverly Hills, burn to the ground. I'm just saying, it Los Angeles right now looks like chaos mode from San Andreas. And I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. Outside of, look, I'm going to keep following it. I'm going to keep seeing what's going on with it. But I can tell you that it's going to be burning for a little bit longer. I give it another 2 to 3 weeks because, that it's got to burn itself out. It's got to reach an area where it can't go any further. Yet, usually with a forest fire, they try to cut it off at the pass, by digging trenches and stuff. But since everybody didn't listen and was thinking, oh, the fire is going to go west, and the fire turned around and went east, nobody dug trenches to stop the fire from going any further east. So they're just going to have to really kind of figure out a plan to really snuff this fire out. And you really got to get ahead of it. You got to get ahead of it and the 60-mile-an-hour winds. And, when you're dealing with a forest, you're not looking at a fire like a campfire, like a 5-foot tall fire. You're looking at like 20, 30, 50 feet tall fire, like fire. Like they got to fly overhead with a helicopter so that they don't get burned kind of fire. And that is harder to maintain, because if a tree falls in the woods, it's going to make a sound. And then when it lands, it's going to set everything inside of a 100-foot radius on fire. So it's better for us to make sure that we keep ourselves safe, keep ourselves contained. Now is not the time to riot. It is not smart to take advantage of this and go get you a pair of J's from the mall, because that pair of J's is going to get soot on it from the fire. You got to wait until they put the fire out and then go do your rioting, because it's not like the city is going to be under control. You've got firefighters and police officers. I think this qualifies as martial law scenario, which also means that all crimes that are done while they're dealing with martial law kind of scenarios are kind of like acts of treason kind of thing, which typically puts you in more than just a regular jail cell. Instead of going to jail for doing something stupid, you go to federal prison for doing the same misdemeanor stupid thing. It turns into like an A-class felony, like a first-degree felony kind of situation when you're dealing with committing crimes under natural disaster. So I would say keep it safe. I would say drive slow. Move your gas cans. Make sure that they're not full of gasoline. Don't put them in areas that's too close to where they can catch on fire, and really just be safe. I think now is a good time for anybody who's got a decent quantity of land to build yourself one of those underground storage facilities that they say that orange groves is what they call them, right? And you put all your gas and stuff underground. That way, when the fire goes overhead, you have like a metal door over it, and the fire doesn't go down there and blow up all of your gasoline, as opposed to having it above ground where it can catch on fire and the heat can blow it up. Just like hints towards other ways to make things different. Matter of fact, here's the thing. Hong Kong has been building down. America builds up. America builds to the sky. But Hong Kong is building down. Almost like the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil. Why are we not building down like Hong Kong? Because they got the right idea, because a forest fire would not negatively impact your standard of living if you have below ground parking, below ground housing, below, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got to deal with earthquakes and stuff. We got to deal with like tidal waves and stuff, but you can't prepare for everything. But a fire, though, fire really wouldn't hurt us as bad if your house was below ground. So take that into consideration while you guys are redesigning your new homes. Build your house in a mountainside instead of building it on top of the mountainside where it's near the Hollywood sign. It needs to be inside of that chasm. And it inside, not in front of it, inside. That way, when the fire comes overhead, it doesn't go inside of your house. And then try to put you like some steel doors, some steel shutter doors on there, almost like Saints Row. You got to kind of start being creative. Hey, if it's a $3 million house, it should be built in a way where it can withstand just about anything, right? Make it smaller. Shoot. Why do you need to have 52 bedrooms and you live there by yourself? Why not have like 10 bedrooms and all of them be reinforced steel? That way you don't have to worry about flood, hurricane, or tornado, or fire. You know what I'm saying? Just like millionaires not being responsible with their millions. I don't know how that works out. Like reinforce. I think because they're rich, they feel like they're immune to everything, including the environment. But bro, nah. You got to start thinking like a Y2K person and really start preparing for Armageddon, because technically in Los Angeles, the people who live there feel like this is the end of the world. This is the apocalypse for them right now. And there's nothing they can do but wait it out. And as some of my buddies are in Taiwan and Taipei and Hong Kong and China and Tokyo, hesitating on returning back to America until the fire stops, taking their family and friends out of the United States until the fire stops. When they do come back, the environment is going to be totally different. And how long do you think it will take for the natural pollution in California to clear up? The fire's already been burning for almost a week now. And I project that it's probably going to burn for another 2 or 3 more weeks before it subsides. So how much ongoing pollution between now and March or April is going to still be there before the atmosphere clears up completely? Because as everything settles to the earth, every time the wind blows, it's going to kick back up all of that pollution. And then we also have to deal with all of the chemicals and everything that settles into the earth after the fire subsides. Every time it rains, whenever it does rain, it's going to go into the water system, which is going to overwork the water filtration plants that are using reclaimed water, because we don't want to spend the extra money and effort to filter salt out of the ocean, where we have 95% of non-drinkable water, 1% of drinkable water that we recycle. We could be tapping into a bunch of water that we would be able to utilize, because no one is taking the ocean water and putting out that fire. Just saying. So many ways. But here I am, just a guy that's just throwing out some ideas. So with that being said, I want you guys to make sure that you like and subscribe as you come through. Watch this from the beginning, because there's a lot of stuff going on about this fire. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump taking over the world, because he just said stuff about the Gulf of Mexico and Canada. So like expanding U.S. borders is like allegedly supposed to be his dream. And we're going to dig deep into that tomorrow. So I want you guys to make sure that you're here. We're going to be kicking it off around about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, which is 7 o'clock California time, and 11 o'clock New York time. So wherever you are, make sure that you hit that follow me button, that like and subscribe button. Special shout out to those of you that's watching me on Twitch. Special shout out to those of you that's watching me on Twitter. Omni81, Red Void, Liberty Twitcher, Silly Emma, Max the Poser, Reese Martinez. I really appreciate you guys. Mr. Pibbs, got to give him a shout out as well. AJ, appreciate you. Thank you guys for showing us love. And that is all I'm going to have for you guys for today, because today was, well, we on fire. So I just had to really let it burn for a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of puns. There's a lot of puns. It ain't disrespectful yet. It ain't disrespectful. Stay tuned. Make sure that you guys check out the song that we have at the end of the show, Higher Ground. It's the opening and the intro and outro of the show. There are links into podcasts in the description for the song. Make sure that you check that out. You'll be able to enjoy it. Either way, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you to make it make sense. So please, ladies, make it make sense. And fellas, I really appreciate you guys for showing us love. Thank you for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.